Welcome to the sixth class of the Eightfold Path to Inner Strength. And so to begin with tonight, we will first do a review. And are you all able to see the PowerPoint okay? Yeah, good. We had some trouble with that last week, so I'm glad to know. And I did send out
Yes.
the recording. Were you able to open the PowerPoints? I hope so. Anyway, let me know if you weren't, and I can send it. So just to review, we've got the Four Noble Truths, which was actually one of the first teachings that the Buddha gave. And it's still kind of considered one of the most foundational teachings that is part of Buddhism. And would anyone like to go through these for us, or shall I? Okay, so the first is the knowledge of suffering, that's pervasive in all life. The second is the knowledge of the origin of suffering, which usually comes from the frustration of trying to maintain our ego while we're trying to push away all this suffering and the tension there that happens because of that. Then we have the third noble truth, which is the knowledge of the cessation of suffering, so that it's possible to not to completely have no experiences of suffering in our life. You know, we're still going to get sick and become old and die, but we don't have to be attached to that suffering. We don't have to let that suffering control our lives and drive it. We can put a little space between ourselves and the experience. And then finally, knowledge of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. And that's the Eightfold Path. And so that's what we're working on in this course. These are teachings that help us become more peaceful and get in touch with our own inner strength and our inner power. And that has a way of bringing more joy into our lives as well. So it's a very, very wonderful path that we've stumbled upon. Somehow, we must have good karma that we've stumbled upon this path. At least that's how I feel about it. Okay, so for this Eightfold Path, slide here. I guess not. Okay, sorry. So for these 8 different aspects of the path, we have them grouped into 3 categories. And the first is prajna, or wisdom. And so for that one, the first is right view. And William, would you like to review that one for us? You do such a great job of explaining that one. Oh, you're on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, right view has to do with the way we see ourselves in the world. It has to do with kind of who we think we are and what we think we're doing here and so on. And of course, one of the main, and it involves several things that have to be kept in mind, or that are meant to be kept in mind in our daily life. And of course, one of those is the Four Noble Truths. So from the standpoint of right view, we're expected to kind of remain aware, more or less all the time, that the pervasiveness of suffering. We have to keep in mind that suffering and frustration and confusion kind of fully pervade the realms of existence. And we also need to keep in mind that an understanding that the cause of that suffering is rooted in our, if you will, dazed and confused belief in the inherent existence of a singular, everlasting, self-centered self. This is what Rosalind just mentioned in the recap, and which is a kind of bewilderment that gives rise to craving and aversion. with regard to what that imaginary self wants to experience and what it doesn't want to experience. And we also have to keep in mind that there is a possibility for extracting ourselves from endlessly going around and around in circles in that confused and deeply unsatisfying situation. And finally, we have to keep in mind that the path leading out of that suffering situation is a path that has 8 characteristics. The first of which is this right view, where we have to keep all of this in mind. I think that's a simple way of explaining right view.
All right, great. Beautiful as always. Thank you, William. And anyone want to take a stab at right resolve or right intention? Okay, well, I can do that then. And that's the aspiration to act with correct intention and doing no harm. So just really the resolve to, as much as we can, act in a positive way towards all beings, ourselves included. And then we go on to the 3 that have to do with ethical conduct, or sila in Sanskrit, or Sheila, maybe it's Sheila. So the first is right speech, and that's avoiding lying, harsh speech, idle speech, and divisive speech. And on the opposite side, doing all the positive things that are the opposite of those. Right action is, again, not killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, or intoxication. And right livelihood is making your living in an ethical way, and not being involved in one of the negative professions, such as making a living by killing beings or selling beings or things like that. But also to whatever livelihood you're engaged in, to do it as ethically as possible, and bring as much benefit to others as you can through your work. And then we get on to the 3 that have to do with mental discipline, or samadhi. And so the first is right effort, and that's the one we're going to focus on tonight. And that's acting with skillful thoughts, words, and deeds. The next is right mindfulness, and that's being mindful of one's body, feelings, and thoughts. And the final one is right concentration. So that's practicing skillful meditation. Okay, so then we have a little more in-depth review here for each of the 3. Right view, William did such a really nice job of that, but we'll just briefly go through these points. It means seeing the true nature of reality, that we're all interconnected. We're not this separate ego entity that we sometimes get fooled into thinking we are. Second, when ruled by ignorance, greed, and hatred, we will only increase our pain. And third, when we manifest positive thoughts and actions, such as love, compassion, joyfulness, and equanimity, we will decrease our pain. And the next one, right resolve. Anyone want to talk about this one? Sometimes called right intention. Well, this conveys the determination of heartfelt conviction and persistence. So the first is the intention of harmlessness, not causing any pain, loss, or destruction to any living being. Secondly, intention of non-ill will, giving up angry, punishing reactions towards other people, animals, and even plants. Even when we're pulling weeds, we do it gently and kindly towards the weeds. And then intention of renunciation. So renunciation is disenchantment with the illusory nature of the world. We see the suffering embedded in the experience. We see the happiness, peace, and love available in not chasing after pleasure or resisting pain. And we have this nice little quote from Ajahn Chah at the bottom. If you let go a little, you have a little happiness. If you let go a lot, you have a lot of happiness. If you let go completely, you will be completely happy. So that's kind of what we want to aim for.
You know, it occurred to me that this right resolve also involves resolving to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, which is what we're doing here. Because you could plan a journey and map it all out, but you never quite decide to go. And with right resolve, I think we actually decide to go onto that spiritual journey toward enlightenment.
Yeah, really great point. In the text, they talk a lot about the difference between, planning for your journey, getting all your things ready, and then really going on the journey, So yeah, you can plan and read about all this stuff, but until you actually, get out the door and start walking on that path, then you're not really doing it yet. So good point. Good point. Yeah, you got to actually put this stuff into action. It's not just concepts, but I mean, the concepts are great and they can lead us in the right direction, but until we actually start manifesting and acting in these ways, we're not really living these teachings. And then right speech. So it's interesting that there's the negative way of looking at it, things we're supposed to refrain from. So that'd be lying and divisive speech, harsh speech, and meaningless speech. And then there's a positive way of looking at it. So always telling the truth, always promoting harmony among people, always using pleasing, kind, and gentle words, and speaking mindfully so our speech is useful and purposeful. And Michelle and I have been working on this one, trying not to swear when we bump our toes and pretend our grandmother's in the room or mother's in the room. And especially for myself, I'm trying to not do divisive speech, backbiting or, complaining about coworkers, things like that, which is all this stuff's pretty natural, but if we can avoid it, it's really helpful. Then on to right livelihood. So we've got the 5 trades that we want to avoid, such as trading in weapons, living beings, meat, intoxicants, poisons. So that's, that's pretty straightforward, that you want to avoid, making your living from things that do harm to others. But beyond that, we want to try to use our work in a way that brings benefit to others. So in fact, Tartang Tulku, our teacher, has written several books. First one was called Skillful Means, and the second was called Mastering Successful Work. And these were all about how we could bring Buddhist ideals into our work life, and treat our fellow workers with compassion and respect and self-respect for our own work and things like that. So it's again, I think, the idea of actually putting these things into practice. So it's these ideas are here not just for us to think about, oh, what lovely teachings. Yes, if I could only be that way. But it's really encouraging us to make it a reality in our lives, really live the teachings. And then that's where you get the real benefit. And also others get benefit from it as well. And so we have another nice quote from Ajahn Chah. Buddhism teaches us to make earnest efforts in the things we do, but our actions should not be mixed with desire. They should be performed with the aim of letting go and realizing non-attachment. So that goes back a little to what William was talking about at the beginning about how, we're usually so attached to our ego or our egoistic point of view, perspective on the world. And when we can let that go, then our actions can really be helpful to ourselves and others, because they're done from a more selfless perspective. And then we went into a little more detail about how lay people, family man or woman, as they say in the text, can live a more happy life. And these include the accomplishment of persistent effort. So whatever may be the means by which a person earns a living, he or she is skillful and diligent. So kind of doing the best we can in our work. The accomplishment of protection. So the person sets up protection and guard over the wealth acquired. So, you know, just making sure everything's secure and protected in your business or the work you do. Good friendship. So wherever one dwells, one associates with people who are of mature virtue and accomplished in faith, moral discipline, generosity, and wisdom. So, you know, choosing good friends, because they will influence you. And then the fourth is balanced living. A person knows his or her income and expenditures and leads a balanced life, neither extravagant nor miserly. So again, that concept of the middle way between extremes. And then there's 4 other things that lead to family man or woman's welfare and happiness in the present. The first is accomplishment in faith. The person places faith in the enlightenment of the Buddha. Second, accomplishment in moral discipline. The person keeps the 5 basic precepts. Does anyone know what the 5 precepts are? Anyone want to remind us of that?
I think it was some.
Okay.
Actually, I have them on my screensaver on my phone.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Veronica's going to give us those.
I see generosity. I see actually 6. Generosity, ethical discipline, morality, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. That's what I
Okay.
have.
Yeah, those are good. Usually when we talk about the 5 precepts, we talk about not killing, not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, not lying, and not becoming intoxicated.
Oh, I think I just did the 6 perfections.
Oh, the 6 perfections.
That's what
Okay.
I did.
All right. That's all right. Those are good too. And then let's see. Then the third thing that we can do to be happy as lay people is accomplishment and generosity. So the person dwells at home with a mind devoid of the stain of stinginess. And the fourth is accomplishment and wisdom. The person possesses the wisdom that sees into the rising and passing away of phenomena. So these are the 8 different things that the Buddha suggested we should follow as lay people to have a happy life and manifest in when we're making a living or following our livelihood. Does anyone have any questions or comments of anything we've kind of gone over already for the review before we move on to the new material?
You have the most.
Pardon me? Michelle, can you repeat?
You have the most beautiful. You have the most beautiful slides.
Oh, thank you. I just kind of pull them off the internet. You just type in, usually I type in Buddha statues or Buddha statues in nature, and that's where I pull them. I hope no one kind of complains about copyright issues to me, but you know, since I'm not publishing it, I'm hoping it's fine. So thanks, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And I'll send this to you for you.
Very much.
So yeah,
those eight points of guidance for us lay people, that's really beautiful. I feel like I should make a sign and just hold it in front of myself all day long.
Yeah, it's really nice. I don't know if anyone's familiar with an author named Rick Hanson, who's written about Buddhism. I believe he did the book of quite a few years ago, When the Swans Come to the Lake. But anyway, there was an article online from Tricycle. I think it was Tricycle. It may not have been, but anyway, he had an online article where he pulled that quote from the Buddha to illustrate right livelihood. And I thought it was a really nice illustration of that. So yeah, I'm glad you appreciate that, William. I do too. I think they're really words to live by, if you can. All right, any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, so right effort. So this is where we start into the samadhi section. So usually it's interesting when we think of effort, it's usually kind of a physical effort. It's like, we're kind of going to put our shoulder into the pushing, but this is really a mental effort. And so it's really protecting our minds. So the first two things that we're doing is protecting our minds from unwholesome states. So the first is to prevent unwholesome states of mind from arising. And the second is to prevent unwholesome states of mind that have already risen from manifesting. And I think it's kind of interesting to be aware of those two different aspects of this. So the first is, okay, we don't have any negative attitude about such and such or so and so. And then you can almost watch it coming, like, okay, somebody says something, you read something, or anyway, they do something to you. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing you've got some anger or negative reaction to this person. So if you can be aware of it and kind of nip it in the bud and don't let it flourish, then, you're going to be way ahead of things already. You don't even have to deal with it because you're not even letting it come into your consciousness. And then the second one is when you already have some negative thoughts about a situation. And then you want to just work with keeping it from turning into action. So that's one reason the controlling our thoughts is so important, is because from a thought, often an action will result. And so again, we want to be aware of that. And so as much as we can control the thoughts we allow to come into our awareness, so that we then will be able to control our actions a little more easily. And then the third one is to encourage wholesome states of mind not yet arisen to manifest. Anybody have any ideas? What would that mean? How could you draw some positive, wholesome states of mind into your consciousness?
Mantra.
Mantra, that's a great one. Sometimes that's even called mind protector. I think that's the literal meaning for the word mantra. Is man is like mind, and then tra is protector. So yeah, that's a great one. So you start feeling negative, start chanting. Or even if you're just like not negative, maybe you're just, neutral, start chanting to help encourage some positive states of mind to develop.
Making wishing prayers.
Wishing
like,
prayers.
Like we have that prayer in Buddhism, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Those kinds of wishing prayers.
Yeah, that's a great one too. What else? Anyone have any other ideas? What about reading a Dharma book?
Meditation.
Michelle, did you?
I just said meditation.
Meditation. Yeah, that's probably the best the very best we can do, because then we get really in touch with our deepest inner wholesomeness. And then if we're really in touch with it, there's just not anywhere for the unwholesome stuff to get stuck. You know, we get kind of like silicone, or what is it? Teflon. The negativity just kind of brushes off us. Any other things that people have found helpful? What about listening to a Dharma talk? You know, there's, of course, when COVID isn't happening, there's always, you know, opportunities to see people in person. During this difficult COVID time, there's actually really wonderful recordings on YouTube or other places, you know, people's own websites. I particularly like Jack Kornfeld's talks. They're quite beautiful. So yeah, there's many wonderful lectures we can listen to as well. Any other ideas? I find looking at art, the Tibetan art also is very inspiring to me, you know, because it just shows this realm that's very pure and beautiful and kind of free from the negativity. Except when you look at the wrathful deities and they're kind of, you know, dealing with the negative emotions. They're kind of being very forceful, but to kind of help overcome those forceful qualities.
Walking in Mother Nature, the beach, the woods, and things like that.
Yeah, great. Veronica was just saying walking in nature. That's an excellent way, I think. Especially those of us living in the modern world, living in cities and everything, we get so detached from nature that when we can kind of just go for a walk, it can really help us kind of feel more integrated with the world. I think the ego kind of loosens up a little bit and we just kind of become part of the path that we're walking down. Michelle, did you have something?
And the precursor,
Hmm?
yes, the precursor to meditation, which is yoga.
Yeah, good. Yoga, that's really a good one too. Or kumne, or sometimes any other kind of really kind of gentle exercise can really help also, kind of integrating the body, breath, and mind. So great. And you know, this fourth one, it's kind of similar to what we've been talking about, but that's just to develop and bring to perfection the good and wholesome states of mind already present. Anyone have any thoughts about how to, you know, do that one and to basically encourage what we already have that's positive? Well, probably all the things we just talked about would do that for that as well. So.
Participating in Sangha.
Yeah, that's another excellent point, that when we can go to a Dharma talk or even just meditate, chant, do yoga with a group, then it has the effect of really encouraging our positive energy. So yeah, excellent point.
When we're meditating, if a memory or a distracting thought comes up, not to pay it too much mind, but instead to remain in that wholesome state of meditation.
Good. Yeah. So being able to let go of the negative thoughts that try to get in the way of the positive or the wholesome thoughts. For sure. I think all of us have that, of course, you know. When we're meditating, a lot of times we're going to have negative thoughts arise, and rather than following them, just kind of being able to let them go. Yeah, that's an important one. Okay, anything else along this line? Okay, well then I've got one more slide on this topic. And this is, I just titled this The Middle Way. And there's another nice quote from the Buddha. And he was talking to this musician, Sona. And he says, and what do you think when the strings of your vina, which is like a lute, were neither too taut nor too loose, but tuned to be right on pitch, was your vina in tune and playable? And so Sona replies, yes, Lord. And then the Buddhist goes on, in the same way, Sona, over-aroused persistence leads to restlessness. Overly slack persistence leads to laziness. So in this way, you know, we want to be sure that we're not being too vigilant or kind of strict with ourselves and like, oh no, I can't have any negative thoughts. All my thoughts have to be positive. You know, well, that's kind of unrealistic, right? You know, if we tried to control our minds in that way. But then on the other hand, if we're like, well, whatever, you know, a negative thought or two, you know, no big deal. Not so many wholesome thoughts, well, okay, no big deal, you know. So then, you know, that's not the right attitude either. So we want to have something a little bit in between. So I'm just wondering if anyone has any examples of that in their life, when they've been a little bit too forceful, or maybe not forceful, or not making effort enough. Can you think of any examples?
I have an example.
Okay, great, Michelle.
I've been working with a lot of medicinal plants lately, specifically mullein, which is supposed to be good for your respiratory tract. And I'm having some challenges around that. So I went out into the field today and collected some by digging up the root and removing the whole plant. And I noticed that my effort was rather vigorous in wanting to remove the plant. And in hindsight, I realized that some sensitivity was missing between myself and my relationship to the plant. So that's been an interesting experience.
Good. Veronica's been doing a lot of gardening here at Ratmaling. I'm wondering if you have anything similar.
What she said just brought up a lot. It's like, I can either be, when I first got there, I said, oh wow, look, it was so beautiful. But if you look really close, you could see that there was a lot of weeding and things that needed to be done. So I got like hyper vigilant about weeding. And finally I just went, oh, wait a minute, let me just like slow this down a little bit, you know, and just really be here and appreciate the beauty of this place that I'm in. And then I did that, and then I remember my son told me, he said, Mom, you're always so focused and you're always getting things done. He said, how about you just go with the flow? And so I said, okay, well, let me try the flow. And that was the garden, and I almost got, I got into a meditative state. And it was very beautiful. And then I was like, you know what, I'm not going to get a lot of work done doing this. So I gotta find the balance here. So I totally know what she's talking about, yeah.
Were you all able to hear Veronica?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, good, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So anybody else have any experiences of these two extremes and how they've worked with it? Yeah, I know for myself, I struggle with this one because I tend to also be one of these people that kind of, you know, wants to get a lot done, and, you know, so I was trying to accomplish something. And it's hard for me sometimes to just back off and just, you know, let things kind of unfold the way they're going to unfold, and and even you know, to relax enough to be able to meditate and be more receptive to my environment. Excuse me. Yeah. Anyone else have anything they want to add on this topic? Okay, well then now we're going to move on to our practice section. And excuse me, we're going to do a Kumne exercise. And we're going to have, I've got the Manjushri image up here. And Manjushri is a bodhisattva, which is, that means a great being of wisdom. And he holds a sword that is said to be able to cut through our ignorance, mostly by ignorance. In Buddhism, we talk about or think about those things that William was talking about, the ego, you know, that's the root of our kind of ignorance, is that we think there's this entity called, you know, Rosalind or Veronica or whatever our name is, William, Michelle, Joshua, that really exists, whereas, you know, on closer examination, we can see that we're just kind of this conglomeration of atoms and elements, and, you know, we're part of this environment. We're not really separate. So that's kind of the main thing we want to be cutting through with this sword of wisdom. And it has a little flame on the tip, which is kind of a symbol for wisdom in Tibetan art, the flame, the fire, because it can kind of burn through, you know, all these obscurations. So in this practice, it's kind of a little bit of a forceful practice, and I thought that we could kind of focus on relating it to our negative and our positive thoughts. So let's go ahead and stand up. I'm going to turn the screen around so you can see me a little better. Okay, so this one is called Touching Body, Mind, and Energy. And some of you, I think I did this in one of the earlier classes, I think during the 6 Perfections class. But I think it's really appropriate for this topic. So you want to stand with your feet about hip distance apart and arms down by your side. And then slowly raise your arms up and turn your hands so that their palms are facing out and the hands are about 2 inches apart. And then we're going to pretend like there's iron bars that we're stretching open. And we'll just keep stretching those open. And go ahead and go all the way back so your arms are a little behind your body. And I was thinking we can consider this opening the bars so that we're allowing the positive thoughts to come in. We want to have our breath nice and deep while we're doing this. And then we want to head back the other direction, again with some strength, as though we're pushing the bars back closed. And we can imagine this is keeping the negative thoughts out. This is the effort to keep the negative thoughts out. Just not allowing them in the gate any longer. in the wall. And then you can let your hands come down to your sides. Just concentrate on those sensations in the body, in the breath, in the mind that have arisen from this movement. So now we're going to do this to each of the 5 directions, like we often do in this class. So, and this is kind of my way of helping us integrate into our world, you know, starting to become a little bit more aware of the qualities of each direction. So, facing the east, go ahead and raise your arms up. You can have your hands facing out already. And then once your arms are up, go ahead and give a nice stretch open with some effort in your arms, trying to push those bars open, allowing the positive thoughts to come into your world. And while you're standing there with your arms stretched open, your chest wide open, you can kind of concentrate a little bit on the base of the spine. Feel the energy just going up and down the spine, kind of arising with strength from the earth, through your feet, up your spine. So you really kind of engage your inner strength and effort, your energy, your mental energy. And let's take a nice deep breath. And as we let it out, we can slowly bring the arms forward, again pushing with quite a bit of strength to push those bars back closed, keeping all those negative thoughts from coming in. And then slowly let the arms come down to your sides. Take some time to just really feel the sensations of the shoulders and the arms and the hands and the fingers. Also in the feet, the legs, back, neck, head. Be aware of the difference in the energy from the first time we did it. You might feel a little more strength, a little more energy flowing now. So let's take a quarter turn to our right, and now we're facing the southern direction. So as your arms come up in front of you, palms facing out, you can think about the southern direction has this really quality of earth, this very solid, strong direction. And you can just draw on the strength of the earth coming up from your feet, through your legs and your torso, out into your arms. And let's use that strength to really push open those bars. All those conventions, all the things we've learned in our life that keep all the positive thoughts from coming in. We're just going to push them out of the way. Let our inner strength rise up from the earth. And take some nice deep breaths to further energize us. And then we're going to push back in the forward direction, closing those bars to all the negative thoughts that are swirling around in the universe. Every time we turn on the internet or the TV, we're flooded with them. This is our way of saying, no, thanks, not coming in tonight. And then slowly let the arms come back down to your sides. And again, let's just take a few moments to be aware of the sensations in the body. Maybe you can feel an opening in your chest happening. Maybe a little more energy in the upper body, arms and hands. Maybe a little more groundedness through our legs and feet to the earth. Feeling the strength of the earth. And let's take another quarter turn to our right, and we'll be facing the west. So as your arms come up, you can think of the west is the element fire. So again, very powerful element. Especially now, we know how powerful fire can be. We're reminded very strongly of that here in Northern California right now. And let's just go ahead and push those bars open. Push all the negativity that we've been experiencing so much in these past few months. Just push that out of the way and let the positive strength of this Western direction, this fire that's actually a symbol of wisdom. So even though it's destructive, it's also can be very powerful in a positive way. Take some nice deep breaths. Letting go of all the fear that we've all been experiencing with the fires, the smoke, the COVID, all the political turmoil. Just let that all go so that we have room for the positive thoughts to rush in. Our groundedness, our sense of inner strength, our sense of positive karma from doing good actions. And let that fill us up instead. And start back in the forward direction, pushing those bars closed, keeping all that negativity out, and keeping all the positivity in. So the bars can do both, keep things out and also keep the good things in. So let's go ahead and let our arms drop slowly to our sides. Again, take a moment to be aware of the sensations in the body, in the breath, and the mind. Sometimes you can feel a little flame in the different chakras of the body. You've got the head chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the belly chakra, and then the lower chakras. So sometimes having a sensation of flame or fire in those chakras can kind of open up and enliven those chakras. And you also might just be feeling a little more energy flowing through the body from the kind of the effort we're making. Let's take one more quarter turn to our right and you'll be facing the north. I'm gonna not face that direction so you can hear me a little better. But go ahead and let your arms come up from your sides. Backs of hands together. And let's just push those bars open, even with a little more effort than we've already been doing. Try to do it as strongly as you can. Really push those bars open. Let those good thoughts in. Let a nice deep breath come in too. And let's let our arms start coming forward now, stretching those bars closed with a nice strong effort. Really push all of your strength, getting those bars closed, keeping out the bad thoughts, keeping in the good ones. And take a nice deep breath and slowly let it out as the arms slowly come down. And if you'd like to take a quarter turn to your right once again, and we're going to be facing the east, but we're going to actually be focusing on the center. So that means all the space above us and below us, and in our deepest heart center as well. So go ahead and let your arms come up, backs of hands towards each other, and go ahead and push just a little bit harder this time. Just as much effort as you can. Extend into your arms, pushing those bars open. Really making one last effort to really open the heart chakra, letting really positive thoughts into the mind. And breathing nice and deeply will really help with that. And now let's push the bars back in the other direction. Again, mustering as much strength as you can in your arms and hands. Really pushing those bars closed with a firm resolution. Keeping those negative thoughts out. Keeping the positive thoughts in. And then take a nice deep breath and slowly let it out as the arms slowly come back down to your sides. So we'll just take a moment to be aware of all the sensations in the body. See how they've changed since we started. See if you see any difference between the energy in the body, the sensations from the first time we did this until the last time we did this exercise. You might feel a little more strength in your feet and legs. Maybe you can feel some energy coming up from the earth, from your legs and feet into the torso, to the belly, to the heart center, even into the throat, into the mind, to the head center, the crown chakra. You're most likely going to feel some energy in your shoulders and arms and hands that are different. Maybe feeling a little more empowered, a little strengthened, and energized. Okay, so let's go ahead and sit back down in our chair. You can sit in a chair. You can sit on a cushion if you have one, a meditation cushion. There is a meditation mat there, Lonnie, and if you prefer to sit on the floor, you can.
Sit in the chair.
Okay, yeah, let's go. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that practice before we move into our chanting and meditation? So the Manjushri's mantra is pronounced a little bit staccato, so a little sharp. Usually our mantras when we chant, they're kind of gentle, but with Manjushri's, it's all about kind of helping us wake up. So it's a little bit crisp and sharp. So it's Om Arapasanadi. Om Arapasanadi. Om Arapasanadi. Okay. So we'll go ahead and chant that a few times, and then we will just sit in meditation for a bit after that. And these syllables are not anything that is terribly translatable. Om relates to the crown chakra at the top of the head. It's a seed syllable. So, and Ah is a seed syllable for the crown chakra. Rapatsanadi. As far as I know, those are just seed syllables, mantras, without any particular meaning that we can translate into English. So why don't you just go ahead and chant along with me for a bit, and then we'll sit silently for a bit. I'm having a little back problem, so instead of sitting, I might do my meditation standing. Om Arapatsanadi. 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 Om Rapa Sanadi. Om Rapa Sana. Di 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 di. So we'll be sitting in what's called the 7 gestures posture. So the legs forming a nice solid base for the body. Hands on the knees. Arms are relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed too. If you want, you can lift them up and then back and then down. So ensure that they're nice and relaxed position. Chest is up and out a little bit, and that helps to straighten the spine. Chin is tucked in slightly, and that also helps to straighten the back of the neck, that part of the spine. So in meditation, as much as possible, we want to have our back straight because that allows the energy to flow the best. And the eyes are either closed or gazing gently on the ground in front of us, a few feet. And if you'd like, you can curl your tongue so that the tip of the tongue touches the top of the teeth and back, the upper palate. And that little curl helps us to breathe evenly through both nose and mouth at the same time, which is a really nice, relaxed way to breathe. And if you do have thoughts that come, just go ahead and let them come and go. Almost like bubbles in a glass of water. Just let them rise up to the top and then burst open. Usually we follow one thought after another. But in meditation, we want to just as much as we can let the thoughts come and go, not necessarily following one after another. Sometimes it helps to look at the space in between the thoughts. When one ends before the next one begins. That gives a little insight into the state of mind we want to kind of sink into, relax into. And it's also fine if you'd like to focus on the breath, breathing in nice, fresh, strong energy. Breathing out any weakness, worries, fears, concerns, stale breath, stale air. Breathing in positive thoughts. Breathing out any negative thoughts. And if you'd like, you can imagine this beautiful orange light that's the color of Manjushri's body when he's not golden like he is in the picture. And that orange light can come into your body through the crown chakra at the top of the head and relax all the senses, infusing them with this beautiful, warm, golden orange light. Relaxing all the senses, the muscles around the eyes and the ears and the nose, the mouth and the throat. The light can flow down into the arms, picking up some of that energy we generated. Relaxing all the muscles in the arms, the blood vessels, all the different tendons, everything in the arms relaxes and feels energized. Into the palms too. The palms relax, it helps to relax the whole body. And the fingers as well. Our energized fingers can relax. And the orange light can flow into the torso, transforming all of our internal organs into a body of light, helping to relax all the organs that work so hard for us 24/7, giving them a little break. And flowing into the pelvis, to the hips, down into the thighs, the knees, calves, ankles, and finally into our feet. Relaxing the feet. As the feet relax, it also helps to relax the whole body. And even the toes. Wiggle your toes a little if you like, letting the light flow into them. So we'll just sit for a few minutes silently now. Not sure if you can hear the woodpecker outside our walls, but if you do, it's fine. He's just agreeing that it's good to meditate, keeping us awake and alert. If you'd like, you can also imagine this beautiful orange light spreading out beyond your own body into the universe, touching all the beings in the universe with this wonderful golden orange light. As is the Tibetan tradition, we'll chant Om Ahum 3 times, and that's our way of dedicating the merit or benefit, any benefit we might have created through our practice to all sentient beings. And these relate to the 3 centers: the body, the crown chakra, the breath, or the speech, and the mind, the heart chakra. Om. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything we've done tonight? Okay, then I'll go ahead and move on to our.
Thank you, Rosalind.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. So glad to have you coming so consistently. It's great to have you in this class.
It's a joy.
Good. So for our practice for this coming week, you can either just observe, or it's a little stronger if you write things down, but whatever works for you. And just try to keep aware of the efforts that you make to keep unwholesome states of mind from arising and encourage wholesome ones. And note if you've been trying too hard or not hard enough. And just maybe be aware of what the results are. What happens if you're trying too hard or not hard enough? What happens if you let the negative thoughts just run wild? What happens if you close down to positive things you know are going to bring you positive thoughts? You know, listening to Dharma talks, chanting, meditation, yoga, reading Dharma books. It's very easy for us to say, oh, I'm too busy for all that. So when you say that to yourself, maybe just stop and think, am I really too busy? I have time to watch the news. Maybe I should switch that out and do that, chant some mantras instead. So anyway, just play with it. Just kind of lightly watch how that goes for you personally in your own mind. And then if you'd like to chant the Manjushri mantra and then meditate for 10 minutes, that's what we usually meditate for in this class. It's a nice amount of time to really kind of let yourself settle. If you can do more, that's even better. But if you can do 10 minutes, that's pretty good. And you can ask Manjushri for guidance in developing your mental effort. He's a wonderful inspiration. So thank you very much for joining me again tonight, and hope everybody has a good week. Stay safe and healthy and fire-free, smoke-free as much as possible.
Thank you.
Good night.